All right, this is going to be a screencast on how to do the speed and velocity form, along with some calculations that I'd like you to make on the spreadsheet and a graph that I'd like you to make. So when you come to this speed and velocity form, the first question that you'll need to use the spreadsheet for is, what is the average distance in miles driven to school? And you'll go to your spreadsheet, and here is the distance in miles. And in this case, I need to sort it. Let me get it back to timestamp. Okay, and so what is the distance in miles? And this is your distance in miles according to Google. And remember, we got all this information when you guys inputted it through the form that you filled out the other day. Now, to get the average, this is stuff you've done before, so we're not going to get into it in too much detail, but you'll need to add up all of these numbers and divide it by the total number of numbers. But I'd like you to put the answer in this cell. And remember, a little bit of a hint there, this functions button is going to help you to do that. And then you're going to need to round your answer to the nearest tenth. And remember, these buttons here help you increase and decrease decimal places. You're going to do that for the Google distance, the displacement, the speed in miles per hour, and the velocity in miles per hour. When you've done all those things, average-wise, you'll be able to come back, and as you do that, fill in the answers to all of these questions. Now, round your answer to the tenth and do not put the units in order to get the answer correct. Now, what 5 students live closest to school according to the Google Maps distance? Well, that's a little bit of a new thing that we haven't done before, so we'll take a look at it real quickly. And here is the Google Maps distance, and you can go through it and just look for the largest numbers. In this case, we'd have Nikki here. Second up would be Lucas. But then it gets kind of confusing because you can't see the whole screen at the same time. So one workaround for that is to use the sort feature. So you come to the column, in this case C, that you want to sort. You click on it and you tell it to sort from A to Z, or in this case, from Z to A. I think, oh, no. From A to Z will give us from the smallest distance to the largest distance. And then it'll be easy. Here is Caroline is 1.1. Aaron is 1.4. Ellie is 1.7. And you can go through and sort it very quickly. And that's a nice feature. And like you saw just now when I made a mistake, you can also go the other way, and it will do largest to smallest. So that's a good feature. I'm going to put it back to the sorted where it's when it was turned in as far as time goes. And that should allow you to complete everything that is on this form all the way down to the bottom. Make sure that you type the names, just first names only, and you have a colon in between and no spaces. And that'll allow you to get the best answer for those. Now, I would like you to make another calculation on this sheet. And what we're going to do is, we've done lots of conversions from miles per hour into meters per second. So let's have the spreadsheet do that for us. And in order to do that, well, let's go ahead and put it next to this one. So if we select this top bar here, we're going to insert a column to the right, and that'll give us an open column, and we can put speed. But this case, it's going to be meters per second, and we're going to have it calculate this for us. Now, we have to do a calculation here, and if you'll remember, to do a calculation in a spreadsheet, you have to hit the equal sign, and that tells the computer that this is going to be a calculation. Now, what do we want to calculate? Well, obviously, we want to take this number in miles per hour. So if we click on that cell, it'll pick that cell, E3, E3, or we could have just typed in E3 as well. Now, what do we want to do calculation-wise? Well, let's take a look real quickly at the math involved. So I believe it was 22.6 miles per hour, but we'll just go with that. So 22.6 miles per hour. And notice I write it with the miles per hour in the conversion factor method. Now, we are going to multiply this in order to get to meters per second. Let's start off with miles. We need to get rid of miles, so they're going to go on bottom. We know we want meters on top, and there's 1,609 meters in 1 mile. And that's a conversion factor that you'd get off of a sheet. Now, here is the second conversion factor, which is we need to go from hours into seconds. Well, 1 hour is equal to 3,600 seconds. And you know that because there are 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. So 60 times 60 is 3,600. Now, math-wise, the miles cancel, the hours cancel, and you're now left in meters per second. But notice, it's the number that you're taking here. You're multiplying it essentially by 1,609 and then dividing it by 3,600. So that's the calculation we want to tell the spreadsheet to do right here. We want it to tell it to do this calculation over and over again with whatever number or speed we're trying to convert. So we go back to the copy of our spreadsheet and we tell it to multiply. And remember, that is an asterisk, Shift 8. And we're going to multiply it by 1,609. And then we're going to divide that number by 3,600 and hit enter. And that does our calculation. Now, we go and we hit Command C for copy. And then we will paste that into all of these cells, Command V. And that gives you the calculation from miles per hour into meters per second, just like that. Pretty nice and quick. Now, I do want to show you one last thing, and what you'll do is you'll just take that column, you'll copy this whole column and paste it into the the Google Doc, so you can turn that in. Now, the other thing that you'll have to do is do a graph of this information. And what do we want to graph? Well, it'd be interesting to look at how the distance affects the speed with which you drive to school. So we're going to do a basic graph. Remembering that to do a graph, you click on the Insert Chart. It's going to look crazy depending on what's selected. But let's go to a chart. The best kind of chart for this one is a new one that we may not have done yet, which is a scatter plot. And we're going to click on that one. We're going to hit the Start. We're going to need to tell it what data to select. Well, we want to select this distance. And we want to select all of these distances that everybody lives from school. And we want to, and that of course is our independent variable or our x-axis. And now we want to select our dependent variable, which would be the average speed that they travel. And this would be our y-axis. So let's go with miles per hour, just because we're more useful with that calculation. And I select that one. And now I tell it OK. And now I have something that starts to resemble a pattern. And if you look here, with this being the distance on the x and this being the speed on the y, you can see the closer you are to school, the slower your average speed seems to be the pattern. But this is a good thing to, and then when you do this, obviously you'll need to go into your chart, into your customize and label the x and y axis. Don't forget your units. Don't forget a chart title. But then in this one, let's do a trend line, because this time the the computer can do a lot of calculations and tell us whether there's a relationship here. And it actually, if we do a linear relationship, you can see this trend line that follows along here, which is really pretty interesting. What it's telling us is that as you get further and further away from school, the average speed gets faster and faster. What you're going to do is then take this chart and copy it and then paste it into your Google Doc as well. All right, good deal.